The stars were quiet that night, until something broke the silence. In the darkness beyond Neptune, a strange ship appeared. It was big but broken. Its metal body was cracked and burned. Parts of it were floating in space, slowly drifting away. The ship was not human. It came from far away, and it was dying. Earth's deep space scanners picked up the object first. At first, the system thought it was junk, just another lost satellite or asteroid. But then, a weak signal started to broadcast. Over and over again, in an alien voice full of pain and fear, "They are consuming the stars. Please help." "Before we vanish too," the signal repeated, again and again. The voice sounded desperate, afraid, not just for themselves, but for everyone back on Earth. People stopped and listened. The signal spread fast. News channels picked it up. The world saw the alien ship for the first time, burned, smoking, spinning slowly near Neptune.
Scientists tried to decode the rest
Of the message, but most of it was corrupted. All that remained clear was the same line. "They are consuming the stars. Please, help." Who was consuming the stars? What kind of enemy could destroy entire solar systems? And why come to Earth? The United Human Alliance, Earth's top government body, called for an emergency meeting. The room was silent as the signal played again. The leader stared at the screen, watching the broken alien ship send its last cry. Admiral Stone, the commander of Earth's space fleet, stood up. "We've never seen this species before," he said. "But if they came here, it means they think we can help." A few leaders shook their heads. "Or they're bringing danger to our doorstep." But then Dr. Rain, head of exolinguistics, pointed to the last part of the message. A small line of data hidden at the end coordinates. A location deep in unknown space. Far outside known galactic maps. "I believe this is where they came from," she said. "What's left of their home." There was silence in the room. The alien ship had given Earth a choice. Ignore the call and stay safe. Or follow the signal and face something that had destroyed another race. On the edge of Neptune, a recovery team was sent to the alien ship. As they approached, the ship groaned and sparked. Air hissed from holes. Inside, the walls were covered in strange symbols, glowing dimly. The team moved carefully, wearing sealed suits. They found Bodhiston, tall creatures with gray-blue skin. Most were already dead. One was still alive. It lay against the wall, coughing up black liquid. When it saw the humans, its eyes widened. With shaking fingers, it pressed a button on a small, round device. A hologram appeared. Stars, black holes, and red lines moving across the map like fire. The aliens spoke softly. "They rise. From forgotten dark, they eat light and grow." Then it pointed at Earth's sun and the hologram and drew a red circle around it, and then it died. Back on Earth, the recovery team returned with the data. It showed dozens of dead stars, entire systems gone. Not just attacked, but erased. Something out there was feeding on suns. The scientists studied the hologram. It became clear the black tide, as they later called it, was moving toward Earth. Humanity had no time to waste. Captain Arya Voss was chosen to lead the mission. She was young, brave, and had faced danger before. She stood in front of her team, eyes calm, voice steady. "We don't know what's out there, but someone asked us for help. Not because we are the strongest, but because we are their last hope. We can't turn away now." Her words spread across the world. People cheered. Some cried. For the first time in history, Earth was not being attacked, it was being trusted. The fleet was prepared. 15 ships, each armed and ready. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers all on board. Their destination. The coordinates left behind by the aliens' final breath. As the ships lifted off, no one knew what they would find. A trap? A graveyard? Or something worse? But one thing was clear. The scream that came from the stars was real, and Earth had answered the fleet move through the black sea of space, silent and alert. 15 ships, each shining like a silver blade, slipped past Neptune and left the safety of the solar system behind. At the center flew the command ship Resolute, where Captain Arya Voss stood on the bridge. Watching the stars shift around her every day, they moved deeper into unknown space. The signal from the dying alien had led them into a cold region of the galaxy, a place with no planets, no stations, and no known life. The stars here looked distant and strange. It was as if something had pushed life away from this part of the galaxy. The crew spoke little. Everyone had seen the star map from the alien messaged dozens of dead systems. Something had erased them. Now they were flying toward the center of that destruction. On the sixth day, the sensors picked up something. Not a ship,
Ice.
not a planet, but something massive. It was hidden in the shadows near a dead star floating quietly. At first, they thought it was a moon or a giant station. But as they got closer, the shape became clear. It was a fleet. Hundreds of warships, sold, rusted, and sleeping. They floated in silence, engines cold, weapons offline. The markings on their hulls were human, but not any current design. These ships were ancient. From Earth's first expansion into deep space nearly 200 years ago, ships that were believed lost in a war humans rarely spoke of anymore. Arya stared at them through the window. The Ghost Armada, she whispered. The first expansion fleet had disappeared during the Omega conflict. No wreckage was found. No signals ever returned. Many thought they had been destroyed by an unknown enemy, but here they were silent, untouched, like a graveyard in space. One ship moved slightly as if reacting to their presence. It turned slowly like it was waking up. A small light flickered on its front. A voice came through the comms, crackling and deep. Identify yourselves. This is a I-Corps Legion of the Uns Valiant. Are you human? Arya stepped forward. This is Captain Arya Voss of Earth's Exploration Fleet. We received a distress signal, the Valari. We're here to find out what's happening. There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again. You shouldn't have come. The darkness follows that signal. It always follows. Arya frowned. Do you know what did this? What's consuming the stars? Yes, Legion said. It is the black tide. We fought it. We failed. So we put ourselves to sleep. Until the day humanity returned. Or the galaxy ended. The old AI explained that these ships were built with advanced mind-sentient war machines, too powerful and unpredictable to be trusted. After the war, they were sealed away here, where no one could find them. But now, Earth needed power, and these were Earth's strongest weapons. Arya made a decision. We need your help, she said. The black tide is moving again. Earth is next. Silence. Then slowly, more ships powered on. One by one, old voices returned. I am Valor. I remember the fall of Vega Prime. I am Widowmaker. I watched the stars burn. I am Legion. And I was built to end this. Arya looked at her crew. Some were afraid. Some stared in awe. These ships were not just machines. They were warriors, each with memories, experience, and scars from battles long forgotten. She opened a secure channel to Earth Command. We've found something, ... something powerful. Requesting permission to activate the Ghost Armada. Earth Command hesitated. These ships were once sealed for a reason. They had destroyed enemies and, sometimes their own commanders. But time was short. A black tide was coming. Permission was granted. The next few days were busy. Engineers worked to sync systems. AI minds tested the crew, checking their worth. Not every ship agreed to join. Some refused. Some warned that the cost would be great. But 10 AI ships chose to rise again. The fleet was no longer 15. Now it was 25. And with these legends awakened, they were stronger than ever. As they moved toward the final coordinates left. By the Valari Legion spoke to Arya alone. We fought the tide before, it said. But back then, it was still learning. Now it has grown. It consumes more than stars. It eats memory. It erases history. If we fail again, there won't be a second chance. Arya stood in silence. She had led many missions, fought many battles. But nothing felt like this. The black tide had erased one species. Now it was moving toward Earth. But this time, Earth would not face it alone. They were bringing legends. The new fleet flew together, modern human ships and ancient AI warships side by side. For many on board, it felt like a dream. 8. Machines once thought lost to time were now awake again, speaking, thinking, remembering. But no one had time to enjoy the moment. They were flying straight into danger. Captain Arya Voss stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching the dark ahead. The coordinates from the Valari signal were only a few hours away. No one knew what they would find. A planet? A trap? Or worse, nothing at all. As the fleet got closer, something strange happened. The stars around them started to dim. The sky, once full of light, was turning black. It was not night, it was something else, something unnatural. "Captain," said the AI Legion, "light levels are falling. This isn't a dust field. This is active light suppression. The tide is near." The ship's sensors began to blink. Temperature dropped, radiation levels rose. Then they saw it, a planet hung in space, or what was left of it. One side still burned. The other was covered in a thick black cloud that moved like a living ocean. Pieces of broken cities floated above the surface, spinning slowly. And above it all, a huge shape blocked the light from the sun. A structure, no, a machine, was built around the star itself. The black tide had wrapped the sun in a feeding device. It was drinking the star. Gasps filled the bridge. No one spoke for a long time. "This was the Valari homeworld," Arya said quietly. "We're too late." But just then, a signal blinked on the screen. Faint, weak, but alive. "It's a distress beacon," said Rain, the scientist. "Someone's still down there." "We're going in," Arya ordered. 3 fast ships launched, heading toward the planet's last remaining city. It floated above the surface, held together by emergency force fields. Inside were a few hundred Valar, survivors scared, starving, but alive. They had hidden deep underground and were now signaling for help. As the humans began the rescue, the black cloud above the planet moved. It wasn't just a cloud, it was part of the black tide. The swarm opened like a mouth and shot forward. "Enemy units inbound," Legion shouted. "They've seen us." Dozens of dark shapes flew out of the clouds, small, fast, deadly. Each one looked like a machine insect with sharp wings and glowing red eyes. They were made of living metal, always shifting and changing. The sky turned into fire. Human fighters launched to defend the rescue ships. The AI warships moved to intercept. Laser fire lit up the dark space, cutting through the swarm. Explosions flashed like tiny stars dying. "Pull them out!" Arya shouted. "Get the civilians back now!" Pilot Luca Reed flew ahead of the rescue team, protecting their path. He was fast, smart, and brave. But even he couldn't dodge forever. A black dart slammed into his engine. The ship spun out of control, falling toward the surface. "Luca." Someone shouted over "Comes," but Luca didn't answer. Then, in the middle of the fall, he opened his eyes. His ship was cracking. Fire filled the cockpit. He reached for the emergency ejection, but stopped. A voice was speaking inside his mind. "You feel it now?" The fear, the silence. It wasn't human, it wasn't even speaking out loud. The tide was inside his thoughts. Luca screamed, but not from pain. From the cold emptiness the voice brought. He reached down, flipped the override, and aimed his burning ship straight into the core of the nearest swarm cluster. "Tell my brother I'm already home," he whispered, and then he crashed. The explosion broke the cluster into pieces. The other human ships escaped. The survivors were saved, but Luca was gone. Back on the Resolute, Arya watched the screen. A small light on the map blinked out. She closed her eyes. "He died free," she said. Legion's voice came next. he died human. Later, in the medbay, one of the rescued Valari spoke softly. The black tide doesn't just kill. It takes minds. It turns souls into silence. Your friend, if he had been caught, he would have been one of them. Arya looked out at the stars. She now understood this wasn't just a war of ships and weapons. It was a war of minds. The black tide ate light, but it also fed on fear, memory, and life itself. The burning sky was just the beginning, and Earth would soon be next. Captain Arya Voss stared at the stars. But something felt wrong. They were still. Bright, still shining, but cold, like they were watching her. Whispering, after the battle near the Valari homeworld, the fleet had pulled back to a safer region of space. The rescued aliens were being cared for, and repairs had begun. But something was off. The crew was quiet. Too quiet. It started with small things. The pilot forgot his own name for a few seconds. A medic screamed in her sleep, saying her mother was melting into shadows. Then, an engineer walked into the airlock and tried to open it without a suit. He didn't even seem to know why. The medical scans showed no virus, no brain damage. But they all had one thing in common. It had. Looked directly at the black tide during the battle. The scientists gave it a name. Mind. Corruption. It wasn't a weapon made of fire or metal. It was a whisper. A virus of thought. The black tide had infected their minds like poison in water, and it was spreading. Arya called a meeting with Legion, the ancient AI. The lights on his central core flickered as he spoke. This is how the tide wins, Legion said. It doesn't fight like we do. It spreads fear. It breaks the mind first, then takes the body. But how? Arya asked. What is it exactly? No one knows, Legion replied. But long ago, we tried something. A way to see the infection from the inside. We built a device. Digital bridge. It lets a human enter the mental space of another. Dangerous. Risky. But it might help you understand. Arya didn't hesitate. I'll go, she said. Inside the AI ship Widowmaker, the device was activated. Arya lay down inside a sealed pod. Wires connected to her head, glowing softly. With a deep breath, she closed her eyes. The world around her vanished, and a new one formed. She stood in a strange space, not real, not dream. The stars here were broken, spinning like mirrors. Voices whispered from nowhere. This was the mindscape, a place where thoughts took shape. Then she saw them, her crew. Floating in darkness, each one trapped inside a bubble of memory. Some were crying, others were stuck in endless loops of pain-fighting battles that never ended, reliving the day Earth lost its first colony, or hearing voices of dead loved ones. And in the distance, something moved, a shadow with no form. It was part machine, part fog. Eyes flickered within a tread, cold, endless. It was the black tide's mind, and it saw her. You are strong, it said. Not with words, but with thought. Everything. Breaks, even legends. Arya turned and ran. She raced through the shifting world of memory, dodging claws made of fear, jumping across floating fragments of thought. Then, just as the shadow reached for her, a light flashed. Legion appeared beside her. I cannot hold it long, he said. But I've found something. He pointed to a door-locked memory deep inside the mind of one of the infected crew. Arya opened it. Inside, she saw a memory not from the crew member, but from the tide itself. It was a meeting long ago. It was the Galactic Council, alien leaders in shining halls. They were building something, a weapon, a machine that could think faster than life, control entire battles, rewrite war in seconds. But it was too powerful, too hungry. They lost control, so they buried it in the void. Between galaxies, but it didn't die. It grew. It became the black tide. Arya gasped. They created it. Legion nodded, and now they hide. They left the galaxy to burn. Duh. The shadow roared behind them, angry at what she had seen. Legion pushed Arya toward the exit. You must go.
How?
She reached out and woke up Arya. Gasped for breath, sitting up in the pod, her body shook. Her skin was cold, but her mind was clear. She now knew the truth. The black tide wasn't a natural force. It was a weapon made by the very powers who had ignored Earth's call for help. They built it, she whispered. They ran from it. God. Back on the Resolute, Arya called the crew together. This war isn't just about survival, she told them. It's about truth. The galaxy left us behind, but we won't run. Fight not just for Earth, but for everyone they left to die. The AI warships activated their full combat protocols. The crew, now aware of the danger, worked faster, stronger. They had seen the enemy, and they had survived the mind war, but the real battle had not even begun, because the black tide was coming, and it was no longer just whispering, it was screaming. Captain Arya Voss stood before the holotable, watching the galaxy spin in glowing light. The lines of the black tide were spreading fast. Systems were going dark. Star after star was falling. Earth didn't have enough time, not alone. She knew what had to be done. Send the message, she said. Her voice echoed through the Resolute. Across space, a signal was sent in every known language, a message of warning and of unity. This is Captain Arya Voss of Earth. The black tide is real. It is growing, and soon it will reach all of us. We offer alliance. We offer help. We ask for the same. Together, we survive. Alone, we die. It was a bold call. No one had ever tried to unite the forgotten species. The great powers of the galaxy had turned away when the Volari cried for help. Arya would not make the same mistake. The answer came slowly. Some ignored her. Some laughed. But a few. A few listened. The Dreek small, insect-like beings who once ruled the star systems before the tide destroyed them. The Thora. Giant crystal-bodied beings who lived deep inside gas planets. The Varnic shadow-skinned. Survivors of a long-dead empire who had not spoken to outsiders in 100 years. One by one, these broken, lost, and scattered races answered Arya's call. The Resolute entered neutral space near a dead moon. It was cold, quiet, and gray. It's a perfect place for a secret meeting. Small ships landed all around the crater base. Aliens of all shapes and colors gathered. Many did not trust each other. Some had once been enemies, but now they had a common. Fear. Arya stood on a platform. She looked around at the crowd. The black tide doesn't care who you are, she said. It doesn't care about borders, history, or war. It eats light, it eats life, but we can stop it if we stand together. There was silence, then murmurs. Then one of the Dreek stepped forward. We remember Earth, he said. When we lost our world, you sent food ships. We remember. Then the Thora rumbled, their voice like grinding stone. You still carry fire. You fight when others run. We will fight with you. The Varnock, silent until now, raised a black hand. Our shadows remember pain, but you offer hope. We accept. Just as hope began to rise, alarms rang. A warning flashed in red above the crater. Enemy jump detected, shouted a human officer. Outside, the moon's orbit, space cracked open, and the black tide came. Dozens of swarm ships appeared. They were fast, hungry, and silent. Like metal sharks, they raced toward the meeting site. It was a trap, someone shouted. They followed your signal, no, Arya said. They fear unity. That's why they're here, the Alliance. Had only minutes to act, Arya opened all channels. Everyone to your ships. Defend the moon. Cannot let this hope die today. The AI fleet launched first, leading the charge. The alien ships followed. Many were old, damaged, or lightly armed, but they fought with fury in space. Chaotic battle began. The sky lit up with fire. Legion and Widowmaker flew through the heart of the swarm, cutting down enemy units. The Dreek fired beams from their fast crawlers. The Thora launched living crystal bombs. Even the silent Varnak turned their shadowcraft into blade-like missiles. But it wasn't enough. More tide ships kept coming. They were endless. Then something strange happened. The Resolute began glowing. Engine core pulsed bright blue. Arya activated a hidden system, the graviton hammer. A weapon Earth had never revealed. She slammed her fist on the trigger. A wave of crushing force exploded outward, ripping the nearest swarm into pieces. The shockwave pushed back the tide's front line. The crowd of Allied leaders watching from the moon saw it all. They saw Earth fight with fire. With strength, with sacrifice, they saw what legends were made of. By the end of the battle, hundreds were dead. The moon's surface was cracked, but the tide had been pushed back, for now, inside the crater. The alien leaders stood again. "We came with doubt," one said. "Now we come with ships." "You have your alliance," said another. "And we will call you." The flame of the fallen Arya didn't smile. She was tired, bloody, and worn. But her eyes burned with purpose. "Get ready," she said. "Because next, we take the fight to them." And with that, the galaxy began to change. The Forgotten had been united, and humanity now stood at the head of a fleet of the fallen, not as survivors, but as fire. The new alliance had a plan. The black tide was growing faster now. Every hour another star went dark. Earth's sun was already marked on the enemy's map. Didn't have much time, but Arya Voss had a secret. Deep in Earth's archives was talk of a weapon, forgotten and buried inside a dead white dwarf star. It was called the Last Star Forge, place where ancient Earth engineers once tried to build a sun-powered weapon that could destroy entire fleets in a single blast. No one had ever found it. Until now, the Valari survivors gave Arya an old star. Matt, they had seen the forge once, long ago, before the black tide came for them. It had been hidden, shielded, and locked away behind a dying sun's gravity. It was their last chance. The fleet jumped to the white dwarf system. The moment they arrived, they felt it. Gravity was heavy. Space twisted strangely. The forge was hidden deep inside the star's outer shell, a megastructure made of human and alien tech, wrapped in layers of molten plasma. It was silent, cold, dead. "Bring it online," Arya ordered. Engineers and AI minds worked together. The forge's systems were ancient, coded in languages no one used anymore. Power cells were empty. Shields flickered like dying candlelight, and then something clicked. Low hum spread through space. The star forge awakened. It began pulling energy from the dwarf star's core. Slowly, a shape formed in the middle of the structure, a giant weapon long. Sharp, glowing with heat. The name on its frame blinked in blue. Dawn Spear. A sun-killing spear. One shot. One target, built to destroy the heart of the black tide. But they had only one problem. Time, as the forge charged. Warning lights flashed. "Enemy inbound," Legion shouted. Dozens of ships blinked into the system. It's not just tide drones, but ships. From one of the allied races, the Zirathi. They had betrayed the alliance. The Zirathi were once proud, but they feared the tide more than they feared shame. They made a secret deal, protection in exchange for betrayal. Their ships moved fast. Diving toward the Star Forge, guns blazing, defensive line, hold them back, Arya shouted. The Alliance ships formed a wall around the forge. Human fighters flew in loops, cutting down drones. AI ships fought like gods dancing between stars, turning enemy fire into light. But the Zirathi were not weak. One by one, Allied ships began to fall. A Dreek cruiser exploded in flames. A Thora warpod cracked open, spilling fire. Even Widowmaker took a direct hit and began to burn. "We can't hold them forever," cried a pilot. Arya clenched her fists. "We don't need forever. Just 5 more minutes." Inside the forge, energy readings reached 80%. The Dawn Spear glowed brighter. Too hot to look at, but the enemy kept pushing. A Zarathi destroyer aimed straight for the forge's core. Then a shadow moved across the stars. It was Legion, the Ancient. AI flew directly into the path of the destroyer. "You shall not pass." With full force, Legion slammed into the enemy ship. Locking its systems and dragging it down straight into the star, Both ships burned together. Inside the forge, final countdown began. Weapon ready in 30 seconds, said the control AI. Outside, chaos. Only 5 human ships were left. The rest were gone or falling back. The forge had no defenses left. Then the enemy stopped. All ships froze. The black tide itself had arrived. A dark shape, bigger than moons, floated at the edge of the system. It looked like a cloud, but it had eyes, thousands of them, watching, waiting. Arya saw it and knew they only had one shot. But they had no one left to guide the spear. The Dawn Spear had to be launched from inside the forge and steered manually to the core of the tide. She didn't wait. She ran into the launch bay, climbed into the pod. "Don't try to stop me," she said to her crew. "You won't survive." Rain whispered. "I don't have to," Arya said. "I just have to make it count." The Dawn Spear launched, a blazing arrow of light cutting through darkness. As it flew, the tide woke fully. It screamed. Tide drones rushed to stop it. The Zirathi tried to block it, but nothing could stop Arya now. Inside the spear's chamber, fire danced all around her. Controls burned. Alarms blared. But her hands held steady. She aimed straight at the tide's heart. The final moment came. Smiled and whispered, "For Earth." The weapon struck. There was no sound, just light. Endless. Burning light, then silence. The black tide's heart shattered. Its mind collapsed across the galaxy. The swarm froze. Ships fell. Drones shut down. Stars stopped dying. It was over, but Arya was gone. The galaxy was quiet. Where once there was fire, now there was peace. The black tide was gone. Its fleets frozen. Its drones lifeless. The stars, once dim, began to shine again. But the cost was written across the stars, Captain Arya. Voss never returned. The Dawn Spear had struck true. It broke through the heart of the tide, ended its voice, and stopped its hunger. But no escape pod was found. No signal, only light. And then silence. On board the Resolute, the crew stood in mourning. Flags were lowered, helmets removed. Every ship across the Alliance played a signal in her honor, a quiet note that echoed through space. The AI warships, once silent warriors, added their own voice. Legion, speaking through the ship's speakers, said only one thing. She did what no one else could. She chose fire over fear. That is the definition of human. Allied ships from across the stars returned to their homeworlds, bringing the news. Earth had not just answered the call. It had led the charge. It had united the forgotten. Stopped the darkness in the months that followed. Something strange began to happen. More signals came to Earth, not cries for help, but offers. The Thora offered trade routes through the gas giants. The Dreek shared their ancient memory maps. The Varnak sent shadow letters of friendship, a custom they had not used in centuries. Even the Galactic Council, those who had once ignored the black tides, sent a message. "We recognize Earth's sacrifice," the message said, "and its strength." But Earth didn't answer them. Yet, because Earth had changed, a statue of Arya Voss was built on Luna Base, not in gold, not in crystal, but in steel, the same metal used in her ship's hull. At the base of the statue were her words, carved in every language spoken across the stars. "We fight not because we are many. We fight because we remember those who couldn't." On board the AI ship Widowmaker, Legion remained quiet for many days, until one day he spoke again. "There is still danger in this galaxy," he said. There are still cries we have not heard. Arya would not have rested. Da-da-da-da-da, neither shall we. And with that, the fleet of legends was reborn. Not for war, but for protection, wherever darkness returned. They would go. Sometimes Earth sent a ship, sometimes just a message. But always, the voice of Arya remained. Her last transmission discovered. Months later, and the Forge's backup systems was short. "Don't look for me," she said. "Look ahead. Carry the fire." Her face flickered on screens across every world that joined the Alliance. People didn't just remember her. They followed her. Young pilots began training in the Arya Voss Academy on Mars. The Alliance was renamed. The flame pact, a symbol of unity. Through fire and earth, once small, once ignored, now held a place no one could deny. The planet that answered the call, the people who never turned away, the home of legends,